So Bianca, congratulations on the film. I saw it yesterday. It was an amazing film to watch because with 3 minutes, you've done so much. Tell us about the inspiration and why did you get involved in this project, the 3 minute lengthening?
Yeah, I saw a post on Facebook actually, and it was called 3 minutes in Poland. And I found it very intriguing. So I clicked on it, and it turned out to be about a book written by Glenn Kurtz called 3 Minutes in Poland. And the book is about a film his grandfather made in the small town in Poland, Naszelsk, not so far from Warsaw, where his grandfather was from. And he emigrated to the United States as a small boy in 1888. And when he was an adult, he went back to Europe on a vacation. And he also visited the town of his birth, and he shot some footage there. And that is the 3 minutes of footage. And this was a predominantly Jewish town. So you know that the people you see on it, most of them did not survive the Holocaust, which gives an enormous tension to the images, of course. And when I saw those 3 minutes on the website of the Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, I immediately had the idea, wouldn't it be great if you could see these people who obviously want to be seen, because you have the feeling they really look you in the eye, especially the children. If we could keep these people in the present a bit longer. So that was really the basis of my idea. And then I got a chance from the International Film Festival in Rotterdam to make a video essay, because I used to work as a film critic for a newspaper in the Netherlands. And then I said, well, yeah, video essay about a movie, I'm not sure, but I really would like to try this idea. And then they said, okay, go for it. And I contacted Glenn, and he was also found it a bit strange, but interesting, because I didn't know him. I just sent him an email out of the blue. And he made it happen that the Holocaust Museum sent me the material, and we could start trying to make it longer. And that was in 2015, and here we are 6 years later.
And the footage comes from 1933 when
1938.
Sorry?
1938.
1938, but there's also some footage from 1940 or 42 or not?
No.
It's all 1938, those 3 minutes in the town.
3 minutes shot in the 4th of August, 1938. And then a year later, the Germans invade Poland.
Yeah, and I love the fact how throughout these images, you guys were able to identify the town by the trees, by the lion at the door of the synagogue,
Yes.
by exploring the little sign for grocery store and all those things. But you couldn't identify the people, but you identified the location at least, right?
Yes,
Could you explain a little that process?
Yeah, when Glenn found this film in a closet in Florida.
In a basement or something, right?
Yeah. He didn't know where it was taken. And he thought it was taken in the town where his grandmother was born, Lisa Kurtz. And then but his grandparents had died already then, so he couldn't ask them anymore. So, and other family members also thought it's in this town, Berezne, on the Polish-Ukrainian border. So after a while, he found a survivor from that place, and he showed him the movie. And that guy immediately said, well, sorry, no, this is not my town. It's not Berezne. So then you have a kind of orphan of a movie, because there's no landmark in it. There's no Eiffel Tower or Big Ben or World Trade Center. So you don't know where you are. But then, because on the door of the synagogue is this lion, and then Glenn found a picture in a book about, I think, about synagogue architecture. He found a picture of it, a photo, and then he knew, okay, was marked as being of the Nashelsk synagogue. So then he said, okay, it must be Nashelsk, where my grandfather was born.
So he was able to identify the town.
Yes, yes. But still, the little part, there's a little, what you see most of the time is the synagogue, which is next to a kind of market square. So that is what we see in the movie. But exactly where in the town nowadays that was really difficult to establish. I think that was only found a few years ago because of old photographs, which gave a bit more context than the film images, that you can see, oh, it must be here because this building aligns with that building. And so it must have been.
I'm assuming the town has changed a lot and grown a lot.
Yes, yes. Well, not that much, but yeah, of course, it's very different than it was then, because also the whole Jewish population is gone.
In all those kids, the faces of everybody are very powerful and make you think, and you think of the tragedies that they went through. It's a very human film. What was the reaction at the Toronto Film Festival?
I think, of course, it's the cinemas were not very full because of the COVID measures. But here it was really nice because there's one survivor in the movie that also his granddaughter saw the movie online and she recognized her grandfather as a 13-year-old boy.
Wow.
He is still alive, and he's also, we interviewed him for the movie, and he also plays a big part in Glenn Kurt's book. And he's now 96 and living in Detroit. He couldn't travel here, but two of his children and a granddaughter were here for the first screening in Toronto. So that was really special.
Yeah. How, because you did a lot of, the film was processed to find more details. How was that experience?
At times really, really good and really frustrating, because some things, for instance, when it was clear that it was very hard to identify the people in the movie, because most people are dead, either because they were murdered in the Holocaust or it's a long time ago, of course, they died of natural causes, the few survivors there were. So then you start to look at other things. And there was, for instance, a sign above a grocery store, and you think like, oh, if we could see the name, you clearly see that there are letters there, but it was unreadable. And they the Holocaust Museum went to put it under a microscope to see if it could say what name is it there. But it was very difficult. But then we hired in Poland, we hired a very good researcher, and she started to look, it could be this, or could it be that? Maybe this letter is P, maybe it's an R. And so that whole process you see in the movie. And then she came up with a name, and then she could see in all kind of, in the phone book and in the vital records, she could see, oh, there was a person with that name that lived there. And then she could ask Mr. Chandler, the survivor, who then said, oh yeah, Ratovska, yes, that was the name of the people who had a grocery store across from my house in Nashelsk. So even if you think, okay, we're stuck, we're never gonna find out, this material will not yield anything anymore, still someone can come with a new technique or a new idea and extract some new information from the old footage.
It's really fantastic. I know that out of the 3,000 Jewish people, all of them die except for 100, I think.
Yes.
It's incredible. And where are the 100, do you know? Or where
well, for instance, Mr. Chandler, he some lady who, a Polish woman who was later recognized by Yad Vashem as a righteous among nations, she gave him a birth certificate of a Polish boy that had died. So he could, on those false papers, he survived the war in Poland.
Yeah.
But most people that survived, if you remember, Poland was divided by the Germans and the Russians in two
Then
parts. The
it became
Molotov-Ribbentrop
Soviet
pact.
Union.
Yeah, and then people fled to that part of Poland that was occupied by the Russians, and then from there they were sent to Siberia, and then some made their way to Shanghai, and then made their way to England, and then actually fought against the Nazis in the war.
Yeah. Incredible stories.
Yeah.